Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jay. So here's a recap of the Tucker Carlson show, and he interviews Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it's a really good video. It's basically about how Trump has been trying to primary Marjorie, Rand Paul, and Thomas Massey while promoting Lindsey Graham and other establishment types. And this is nothing new now. This has been happening right in our face too, and it's crazy. I'm just shocked he would turn on his own members because they're following what he promised, what he was supposed to do. And now that they're not like basically worshiping him, they got to go. So Trump is okay with backing Lindsey Graham, and that's his first endorsement of the 26 midterms of the year. So he's basically saying that it's more important to him to have people who flatter him and kiss his ass than it is to have someone that will carry the fight once he's done in office and do the good work that the American people need. It's just too obvious and in your face, and it like he has to know this. It's like he chose to be like friends with the popular kids. He had to ditch us, like the so-called nerds in school. Like that's what we are to him or something. I would rather be admired by millions of people than a handful of billionaires, but I guess that's not how he is. I'm just surprised that he's gonna not drain the swamp. Now he finally had a chance to because everything's in his power, but he's not doing that. And to make it worse, he's putting people in that are establishment and like deep state. Basically, either they came in deep state or he just groomed them, like Pete Hegseth and Cash Patel and Dan Bongino. It was bad enough we already had the deep state already, and we were supposed to drain them. Not only did not drain them, think about it. He didn't just not drain them. He's creating more out of the good guys we thought we had on our team. So it's like going to a church and becoming a pastor, and I have 500 Christians in there, and I'm supposed to get more. And if anything, I turn a hand, or actually half of them, into atheists. So it's not only did I not improve anything, I'm making it worse because when I leave, the church would be stuck with a bunch of crazies. So, anyways, I don't want to talk too much. I know. I want you to look at the video. I just did the main clip, so you don't have to watch an hour and 50 minutes because you really don't need to watch that much. You're busy. Anyways, if you guys don't mind, give me a thumbs up and take a look, enjoy, and have a good weekend.
One. What is the first pillar of MAGA? Well, of course, it's America First. Here's Donald Trump before he got the nomination for president, and I think in the spring of 2016, explaining what America First means. Here he is.
My foreign policy will always put the interests of the American people and American security above all else. Has to be first. Has to be. That will be the foundation of every single decision that I will make. America. Thank you. America First will be the major and overriding theme of my administration.
April 27th, 2016. At the time, Donald Trump had been elected to nothing. He'd not even officially secured the nomination. Ted Cruz was still running against him until the Indiana primary the next month. He was still just a candidate, totally unproven. But the central theme of the next 10 years of his political life and of the country's political life is right there in that clip, America First. The purpose and duty of the American government is to represent the United States of America. Another way to put it would be the duty of the U.S. government is to make good on the core promise of democracy, which is that the country operates on behalf of its owners, the citizens of that country. It would seem very obvious. Of course, Trump was attacked for it immediately. He was called an anti-Semite. You may not remember this, but he was, because he used a phrase that Charles Lindbergh, who was, by the way, not an anti-Semite, but who did oppose American entry into World War II, along with tens of millions of other Americans, used very often. The America First movement was the American movement of the late 1930s, early 1940s, pushed the Roosevelt administration away from the people most likely to be opposed to more pointless wars. But Trump kept up this theme, and in some ways it was the most controversial thing he ever said, then or now. No more wars. Here's Donald Trump making the exact same point much more recently.
We are never going back to a party that wants to give unlimited money to fight foreign wars that are endless wars, that are stupid wars. I was the only president in modern history who did not have any new wars, no new wars. I finished some old ones. We'll be stopping the slide into costly and never-ending wars. We've got to stop it. Can't keep spending hundreds of billions of dollars protecting people that don't even like us.
We can't keep spending tens of billions of dollars to protect people who don't even like us. I will stop this. That was one of the most popular things Trump said in 2016, up until that was March of 2023 at CPAC, up until recently. Every time Trump says that, including in a UN speech not that long ago, he gets wild applause from his own voters. If there is one theme, if you were to survey 100 people who voted for Donald Trump in 2016, 2020, and 2024, why did you vote for him? You would find an overwhelming majority voted for him, in part because they don't want more pointless wars, because fifth pillar of MAGA. So to restate, there are 5 components of the MAGA movement, ideological components, pillars, and they are America first, the belief, the guiding principle above all others that every decision the U.S. government makes ought to be to the benefit of the United States. 2, a country has to have borders. The people who live in a country decide who lives here. No one else decides. The people of the country should be in charge of who their neighbors are because they own the country. Number 3, no more pointless wars. We've done it. It hasn't worked. This country's not actually won a war decisively since 1945, and we did that with the help of Joseph Stalin. So let's get real. This hasn't worked, and we haven't done it for ourselves. We've done it for others through lobbying campaigns, pressure campaigns, and ideological nonsense that in retrospect looks completely absurd, and those of us who fell for it are deeply ashamed that we did because it was dumb then and even dumber now. 3, globalization has not worked for the United States. You can't have an economy based on real estate and finance. Sorry, Hong Kong or Singapore, but a continent-sized country needs to make things. Finance and real estate are not productive industries. One just keeps reselling a piece of ground. Maybe you improve it a little bit, but ultimately, what have you created? And the other basically just loans money at interest. Now, they probably have a place in a broader economy, but if your whole economy is just finance and real estate, your country's going to die, and ours is, to the benefit of a small number of people, but not to the benefit of the 350 million who live here. And 5, pillar number 5, free speech is the basis of America. That's the fundamental human right that this country exists to protect. And so you would think that every Republican would agree with all of these. In fact, you'd think every Democrat would. These are not controversial ideas. These are not let's round our enemies up or something, or like, these are not crazy. Traditional American ideals. Trump has from day one been a moderate, actually. What's immoderate about those goals? Nothing, except that they challenge the way that things were done. And so if you look at it with clear eyes, backward for the last 10 years, Donald Trump's real battle has not been against Democrats, it's been against Republicans. Donald Trump was not a Republican before he ran for president. He was a Democrat or an independent or a frequent talk show guest or a beauty pageant host or whatever, but he was not a Republican. And so his real battle was then and is now against the Republican Party. And the existing players in that party hated all 5 pillars. Right now, in October of 2025, who sincerely like Trump, they hate Trump because he represents everything they're opposed to. They hate Trump, including people who work for Trump, hate Trump. And some of them said it out loud. Here's one of Trump's new best friends back in 2016 explaining how much he hates Donald Trump.
At some point, you got to stand up to it. I do not like bullies, and I never have. So I will not be voting for Donald Trump, and he can thank Roger Stone. And if they piss me off one more time, I'm going to urge millions and millions of you should he get the nomination, not to vote for him either. I'm very serious about this.
Mark Levin is very serious about this. So why was Mark Levin mad? Why was he so mad? Why was Bill Kristol so mad? They're both kind of for Trump, actually. I remember very well. I knew them. And a lot of other people in Washington, very much like them. Why were they so mad at Trump? Well, that was early April of 2016. That was a few weeks after Trump announced at that earlier referenced primary debate in South Carolina that the Iraq War was a mistake. Whoa, that was too far. And those people are now telling you, oh, you're not MAGA. This is the pigs and the men becoming indistinguishable in the final scene of Animal Farm. And again, it's organic. This happens to all institutions. It will happen unless someone stops it, unless there is a clear and persistent and repeated articulation of what we're doing here. What is this about? Is it about one guy? No, it's not. Sorry. It's not about one guy. A guy to whom most of us will always be grateful for articulating vitally important principles out loud, being the first one in my lifetime to do so. God bless you for doing that. But it's bigger than any person. It's about the survival of the country. And it's about these 5 facts, these principles, these pillars. That's what MAGA is. And so you can measure anybody who claims to lead the movement against those 5 things because they don't change until they're fixed, which they have not been. Pure Talk customers are proud of their wireless company. Think about that. So we thought it'd be worth checking in with one of Donald Trump's earliest supporters, someone who supported Donald Trump not because she thought he was super charismatic or so great or hilarious, but she, in addition to those qualities, she agreed with all 5 things. Marjorie Taylor Greene was a business owner in Georgia in 2016 who was at the first Trump rallies that year, continued going to Trump rallies. By the end of Trump's first term, was so inspired by Donald Trump and what he was saying that she ran for Congress. And she, unlike most of her colleagues in that body, actually meant it. And because they could smell that she meant it, because sincerity is by far the most dangerous quality in Washington, someone who really means it is an actual threat. Thomas Massie isn't a threat because he won't accept AIPAC money. Thomas Massie is a threat because he won't accept AIPAC money on principle. Not because he hates Jews or hates Israel. He doesn't. But because he doesn't think American politicians should be bought by foreign countries. That's against his principles. And because he really means it, he can't be bought. So, of course, he must be destroyed. And now Marjorie Taylor Greene, who of all 535 members of the 435 members of House of Representatives, embodies most purely those principles. And she has she has stuck to them through the years. And for that, is now being written out of the movement by MAGA stalwarts like Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham and Mark Levin, none of whom agree with a single word Trump says and all of whom hate him. So we thought it'd be interesting to talk to her and ask, will it succeed? Will you be kicked out of the movement that you are a core part of? I don't know. Let's ask her. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia joins us now.
Hi, Tucker.
Congresswoman, thanks so much for doing this. So I keep reading that you are not representative of MAGA, and that's why I want to have this conversation, because I just want to get on tape before Wikipedia erases the past completely and we have no reference points, that you are not a latecomer to the Trump phenomenon, correct?
Oh no, I've been on the Trump train since 2015, back when I was just a regular person, didn't even have an idea about running for Congress. As a matter of fact, you laid out those 5 pillars, and I was listening to these clips of Donald Trump, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that man. And those are all the reasons I supported him from the very beginning, when he stood on that stage among 17 Republican presidential candidates, and the rest of them I thought were slimy politicians, but Donald Trump spoke the language that I understood, and he was the one that made sense to me.
You know that Trump is really hated by your colleagues and by almost every single person in Washington. Not every single. There are people at the White House who really love Trump. I know that to be true. But the overwhelming majority of Republicans in Washington secretly hate Trump, and they're too afraid of him to say so, but they hate him. Lindsey Graham, obviously. Ted Cruz really hates him. Mark Levin openly hates him. but they hate him because they don't agree. And you know that because in the last 10 years, there has been, other than you and Massey and a few others, there have been almost no elected officials in Washington to articulate what exactly MAGA is about. Have you noticed that?
That's absolutely correct. 1000%. MAGA. Let's take that acronym. The country in MAGA, and it's America. And I can tell you right now, I want to expand on how much Republicans hate Donald Trump. I became a member of Congress in January of 2021. I had only been sworn in for 3 full days when January 6th happened. And I can tell you firsthand, every single Republican there in Congress literally turned their back on Donald Trump after January 6th. And he didn't even do it. He had nothing to do with what happened that day. He didn't cause it. It was, it was a Fed surrection. Antifa was involved. And then many of these poor people got swept up and went into the Capitol. And it was myself, Matt Gaetz, and a few others. We were the only ones that stayed, said that he's our president. He's the leader of the Republican Party. The only reason that they kiss up to Donald Trump, our president, the only reason they kiss up to him is because they're terrified of a Truth Social post, because they're terrified of their own constituents that fully support a MAGA, that fully support America first, and fully support everything that Donald Trump has laid out now for years and years. And, Americans got to the point where electing Donald Trump was a referendum on the Republican Party. And I very much feel that, because many times I hate my own party and I blame Republicans for many of the problems that we have today. And I blame them for being so America last, to the point where they are literally slaves to all the big industries in Washington, the military industrial complex. Big pharma, health insurance industries, you name it. They are literally slaves, and they love the foreign wars so much. But Donald Trump was a referendum to the Republican Party on behalf of the American people, the forgotten.
So what does it feel like to be the person who stood consistently with the series of principles, these 5 principles, from 2016 to present, one of the only ones, to see people hated Donald Trump, still hate Donald Trump, try to read you out of the movement and take it over?
Oh, it's, I can tell you, I feel great. I sleep perfect every single night. My voting record is a direct reflection of me standing with those policies and never wavering or changing anything. When I go back home to my district, Tucker, which I've been here a lot because Mike Johnson won't bring us back to work. But when I'm back in my district, I go to the grocery store, I get hugs, I get hellos, I go to restaurants, I get thank yous. And I go around as a normal person in my district, and I really love it because these people know me, and they know the hard work that I put in for them, and they know I haven't changed one single bit. When I'm in Washington, D.C., it's a completely different matter. The Republicans that I work with, they know, they literally know that they are having to serve this agenda as long as the president is there in office, and they look at him like a speed bump. Many of them can't wait to get him out of the way, and so they can just go back to doing business as usual. And I find that repulsive, absolutely repulsive. And here, I'll give you an example. So right now, Tucker, a lot of people are happy about the government shutdown, but I really have no respect for the House not being in session, and I have no respect for Speaker Johnson not calling us back to Washington, because we should be passing bills. We should be passing bills that reflect the president's executive orders, which are exactly what we voted for. We should be at work on our committees. We should be doing investigations. And you want to know something? We should be passing the discharge petition that Thomas Massey put in to release the Epstein files. Those are the things that we should be doing. And most of all, Tucker, we should be passing our appropriation bills to actually fund the government and fund important projects that taxpayer dollars, these people pay their taxes. This is how taxpayer dollars come back to your districts. We should be doing that, but no. We're not. And these are the things this is why I have no respect so many times for our party because they get on board and they campaign and they say America first and they try to utter and mimic these Donald Trump talking points. But when it actually comes to getting to work and delivering those talking points into action for the American people, the people that voted for them, the people that knocked doors for them, that the sweet little ladies that gave $3 crumpled up dollars out of their pocketbook. I mean, all these people that worked so hard to give us the majority, when it comes time to doing that, what are we doing? We're sitting at home. And this is a lie that we are constantly told over and over and over again, that we have to hate these people in the Middle East. I'll give you an example. So right now, Tucker, a lot of people are happy about the government shutdown, but I really have no respect for the House not being in session, and I have no respect for Speaker Johnson not calling us back to Washington, because we should be passing bills. We should be passing bills that reflect the president's executive orders, which are exactly what we voted for. We should be at work on our committees. We should be doing investigations. And you want to know something? We should be passing the discharge petition that Thomas Massey put in to release the Epstein files. Those are the things that we should be doing. And most of all, Tucker, we should be passing our appropriation bills to actually fund the government and fund important projects that taxpayer dollars, these people pay their taxes. This is how taxpayer dollars come back to your districts. We should be doing that, but no. We're not. And these are the things this is why I have no respect so many times for our party, because they get on board and they campaign and they say America first and they try to utter and mimic these Donald Trump talking points. But when it actually comes to getting to work and delivering those talking points into action for the American people, the people that voted for them, the people that knocked doors for them, that the sweet little ladies that gave $3 crumpled up dollars out of their pocketbook. I mean, all these people that worked so hard to give us the majority, when it comes time to doing that, what are we doing? We're sitting at home. Tucker it's Washington, D.C. is unchangeable, absolutely unchangeable. And they have hijacked our movement, and they're taking it away from the campaign promises of America first and turning it into everything that we hate. We hate globalism. We hate bailing out foreign countries. We hate foreign wars. We hate industries overseas. We want industries supported here at home. And you got people talking about it. People are not silent anymore.
But unless somebody stands up and articulates what this was all about, it's not just about any one person. It's about a set of principles that will save the country, make America great again. Then you will see the nature of the movement change completely. I mean, as I sit here right now, Laura Loomer is some kind of informal advisor to the Defense Department wandering around the Pentagon, Laura Loomer. And you, meanwhile, the most consistent defender of these principles in the whole Congress, there's talk of funding a primary challenge to you to knock you out of your job. Like, how does that work? How does Laura Loomer get to be a Pentagon advisor, but you get primaried? Like, what is that?
I don't know. I've never understood why anyone takes her serious. I mean, this is a woman that can't even legally buy a gun because she has such serious mental problems. She literally posted the other day that she blew blood vessels in her eye as she was hysterically tweeting, like 40 or 50 times in one day. Who listens to a person like that? Like, right. No one should.
Well, the Pentagon.
And there's only one cares about, and that's Israel. It's nonstop Israel, nonstop. And that seems to be the overarching theme. And, look, we always have to, say our disclaimer. This isn't about Jewish people. This is about the government of Israel. This is about their military. And this is about them nonstop demanding, America, pay attention to Israel, do what Israel wants, fight Israel's wars, and pay for them. And if you don't, then we're going to come after anyone and everyone that gets in the way of that. And if you're wondering why people are talking about primarying me, well, it's because I don't take any money from AIPAC. I've called for AIPAC to be registered under FARA. I've introduced amendments to defund all of our American tax dollars from going to Israel every single year billions and billions of dollars every single year. But I've also done that for a slew of other countries. It's not just Israel, it's a whole bunch of other countries. One of my favorite, Tucker, my favorite story about Thomas is when he actually stood up to the president. And it's quite a story because President Trump was so angry at him, and so was most of the Republican conference. And this is a story that I watched unfold on television, not because I was there in person, because I wasn't a member of Congress yet, but I watched it as an American citizen. And at that time, I was like, Thomas Massey is right. And it's when he forced Congress to go on record voting for the first gigantic, it was $5 trillion, basically a bailout when the country shut down during COVID. And they were going to let that bill pass $5 trillion of spending. It's really what started wrecking our economy with high inflation. But Thomas Massey would not allow that to be passed by voice because Congress constitutionally owes it to the American people to do these things right. And so he went to Washington and demanded a roll call vote on that particular bill. And that was the first major fight that President Trump and Thomas Massey had. But I'll tell you, if I had been in Congress then, I would have been right there with Thomas.
Doing. Last question, and this is just kind of a measure of where the movement is, MAGA, where the Republican Party is going, where the nation is going. Ted Cruz is planning to run for president for the Republican nomination next presidential cycle. Why? I mean, look, I'm not. You're in politics. I'm not. I think Ted Cruz is needs to work on some personal stuff. And is one of the saddest people I've ever known. And it's unimaginable to me that he would run for president. It seems like a joke, but he clearly believes it. Why does he believe he can get the Republican nomination, do you think? And does he have a shot?
Well, first of all, Ted Cruz is from Canada, not Texas.
Oh.
So I think that is...
Thank you, Marjorie.
That's the biggest disqualifying thing right there. And I will never, ever let it go. If he runs for president, I'll make sure I spend a lot of time making sure every American knows that he's from Canada and not from Texas. No, I'll tell you what's happening going forward. It's going to be serious. People are not going to accept the standard Republican. People are watching everyone so close right now, and they're in it. They don't realize that they're under a magnifying glass. Not only Ted Cruz, I'll even go to someone I very much like, JD Vance. He's under a magnifying glass, and I don't know if he realizes it or not. I heard people talking about, why did he go to Israel this week? Why? Again, why is he over there? He should be here. So there's people watching every single thing that any potential presidential contender is doing right now and watching what they're saying. And America voted for America first, and they meant it. And right now they're extremely angry. And I think that a lot of Republicans in Washington are so tone deaf to this, they don't even get it. But many Americans that voted for Republicans, gave us the House majority, gave us the Senate majority, and put our favorite president back into office, Donald Trump, they're mad. And they're really, really mad. They're stepping back. They're taking a hard look, and they're starting to be vocal about it. They are angry that everything costs so much. They're angry that Republicans refuse to get engaged and finally build the off ramp to get off of Obamacare that Democrats created 15 years ago. It's like, come on, solve the problem.